Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Paint Table. It's my weekly show where you see what I got done, what I'm working on, and what is coming up. So this week, painted 10 models for Malifaux 3rd edition. Finally have someone to come in and play some encounters of Malifaux, and I took the opportunity to paint out my Explorer Society, the new faction, well, new-ish at the time, that I haven't got a chance to play, just because non-solo games kind of didn't get played as much in the last 2 years, and we didn't have any guests for Malifaux, so it was super exciting. I had to play a game against the Bayou, and take Lord Cooper for a test drive. So I got a bunch more stuff to paint there, but I got an idea of how the crew works now, having actually used it once. And I'll be maybe expanding into a second master. I was eyeballing the Anya Star set, but I can't seem to find it locally. We'll see. We'll see if I grab another one, but that way I can alternate masters and not be playing Lord Cooper and his hunting the dangerous game of all every single game. I got some stuff assembled for my giant robot project, which was previously called Heavy Duty. I'm working on with Death Ray Designs. I got some stuff started as well for the 2nd edition half of the Rogue Trader, the 40k project I'm doing with Christian, where we played 2 games of Rogue Trader. We're going to play 2 games of 2nd edition 40k, doing an early edition purely based out of the Codex Army lists, the way the game launched, and then doing one out of the codexes that kind of came to define like what that is. Warhammer had army books, but codexes were a totally new invention in 2nd edition, and yeah, and we've got some codexes to show off. So, and some terrain for that too. Nick was kind enough to print me out some very cool 90s style bunkers. And I got a little bit of stuff on the go as well for Infinity. Jordan and I are planning on, he's got a week off coming up. We're planning on doing like a little dojo, an ITS dojo, where we play like a 2-player ITS. We do like a 3-round game with dual lists and just try and like, I don't know, get our chops back because we haven't played an ITS in a long time. And that'll be coming up soon too. So I'm kind of having it high on factions, but I'm leaning towards O12. It's White Banner or O12, because these are the 2 things that I started that are like half-done projects. And I want to pick one, paint a serious like 2-list format, pair of lists for it, and then move on to something else. But I need some encouragement and some thoughts on it. But the O12 has some very cool models coming up. So anyway, let's see what got done and what is coming up. So here's what I did for my Explorer Society. It was a 50 Soulstone crew. I started with the Lord Cooper's starter sets. It's got Lord Cooper, Artemis, and Uller, the 2 hound dogs that follow him around. Now, if you don't know about him, he's basically a big game hunter that comes to Malifaux to hunt the biggest game, because he's killed everything he could possibly kill on Earth. And then gets mauled. He gets mauled by a Malifaux monster and left for dead. And like literally everything is eaten, except for like part of one of his legs and arms. And like, that's it. Like the lower half of his body's gone. And so a doctor keeps building him these like augmetic steamwork bodies. And the final one, the Mark 10, is the one he's actually like glued into now. And he becomes this hulking, half machine hunting behemoth. And he's super rich, so he can afford all this. But the thing behind him, Model 9, is actually the 9th incarnation of the body built form that was too small, but worked properly. And it's been turned into like a robot assassin hunter to be like his little personal bodyguard. And these 3 are runaways, so think surviving the game. They get paid if they make it out, and he has to hunt them. So they're friendly models he can kill, and they're his totem. He is like the biggest starter box for being random like dudes. They're free if you take him, and he can basically use them as ski markers, because when he kills things, he can take a trophy and like they drop schemes when they die. And also every time he kills one, he gets soul stones. So he basically has 3 running away soul stones. And they have ways of even calling the shot onto themselves by like yelling for help and giving away their position. They're like, they do nothing in melee. They're free. They don't score strategies or schemes, but because he can interact with them, he can make them into ski markers and soul stones, and it just makes them very like cost efficient. And then I have 1 Vitagi Hunter to throw some pit traps and do some fighting and stuff. And then half of the Explorer Society starter box, which is really cool. A bunch of pre-assembled minis. I painted Mr. Negatoro and Tannenbaum, the cartographer. It also came with a deck and ski markers and a little measuring widget for me, which is really handy. And the hopeful prospects will be coming up, but they're perfect because they're other like game hunters basically that they want to join the Explorer Society, but they haven't quite got the wherewithal yet. They'll be cool. They're little like 4 Soulstone versatile minions that could go into the group here. So if I wanted, I could drop an upgrade and take 2 of them instead of that Vitagi Hunter, which might actually end up being what I do in the end, because it might be slightly better. Anyway, that's what I got painted and I played with, and it was super fun. And coming up over here It's some more Explore Society stuff. We have the Dirty Work box for Syndicate. It's why I want to do Anya, because we have Mr. Rook there and his 2 operatives. They're basically exactly what you think they are. they're Ichi the Killer style operatives that live in Malifaux in hard plastic, and then my 2 explorers that I need to build as well. I have the Crisis Core and the other Vitagi Hunters, but I'm not as into that as I am into the pith helmets and blunderbusses and stuff like that. So I'll probably paint those first. Then over here, we've got some stuff for what was formerly going to be called, the working title is Heavy Duty, but this is my mech project, my 6mm mech project, in multi-part resin. These are the 2 different cadres of mechs. We have the Authority mechs over here, and the Freelancer mechs, like mining operatives and spacers and stuff like that. The Authority are like more government, military and stuff. I'm super pumped about the Authority ones. The designs are amazing. They look so like menacing versus the more kind of utilitarian looking Freelancer ones. I rewarded myself by finishing the manuscript for what used to be called Heavy Duty, but well, we won't spoil the title yet until you can see some finished stuff with building the contents of the 2-player starter set. So I'm pumped. These are going to be a lot of fun to paint, and this is my next week. I'm going to treat myself to doing these one at a time. Then Chris is headed up next weekend to play some 2nd edition. So I'm basically, what I want to do is I want to bridge my Rogue Trader Flesh Tearers with 2nd edition Flesh Tearers in the modern color scheme, and with some modern components. I'm going to paint up the starter set tactical squad in the modern Flesh Tear colors. So these are wicked easy to paint. They're based on 28.5s. I've got a Terminator squad to show off, and then a little command cadre here. This is easily 1,000 points. So you have to understand, 2nd edition games were crazy small. And I have other few bits and bobs I might paint. Like I really want to show off these Strike Force Marines too, which were actually multi-part plastics versus the single poses that these guys are in the same style, the Mark 7s. Think of this like the RTB01 squad of the age, and then maybe paint my Everzor Assassin. I'll strip him and see if I want to paint him too. But I got a bunch of bits and bobs here. I also have a 2nd non-metal Terminator squad. I stripped down one of my original 2nd edition Space Hulk tactical or Terminator squads so that I could basically play space. Once I paint them all, I have 10 Terminators to play Space Hulk with. And then these beautiful 2 bunkers. Ninja Bread sculpted these. They are just printed in FDM. Nick printed them for me as FDM printer because obviously my resin printer would choke on these. But they're basically reimaginings of the cardstock one that came in White Dwarf ages ago and actually had a data fax. You could spend 100 points on one. And I also dug out my Goblin Green Flock. I don't think I'm going to go all the way Green Flock, but I think I will definitely do Green Flock details on these guys to make them a little more 2nd edition and kind of like lean into that conceit. And then speaking of Old Hammer stuff, Adam Vickland had a War Dancer. I'm so stoked. I'm a Bretonnian Knight away now from all the heroes for Warhammer Quest, and that means I can do the Elf Brigade. I might paint like an alternate Elf Sorcerer, and then have, which would just be Astro in different clothes, basically, shaves his beard. And then I could do the Ranger, the Elf, and the War Dancer as like an all-elf party. And the Wizard can kind of stand in as almost anybody, but I'll have a Wood Elf, a High Elf, and another Wood Elf, I guess. There isn't really, I maybe I do a Dark Elf Wizard, and that way I can have like a Sorcerer or something like that as like my Wizard, and do the all elf group. I think it'd be super duper cool. Big thanks to Adam. He had like a bunch of these, or 2 or 3 of them, and he sent me one, so that we could get closer to completing the full Adventurer cadre. And then this cool new stuff showed up from Corvus Belli. We've got the Beta Troopers, and I've been waiting for these forever. And this has me leaning towards O12, because look at how cool they are. It's a unit of Chappy Bots, and I love the little cop robot. This shield and this helmet, they're adorable. They're just super cool, and they're great heavy infantry. Like they're 6-point heavy infantry, or sorry, Arm 3, BTS 3, 2 structure, relatively inexpensive. Have a great loadout, tons of specialists, tons of doctor. So you have a doctor bot, you have a hacker bot, and I think it's an HMG bot. Is it HMG? Spitfire? Spitfire bot. To go with the basic multi-rifle one that came in the O12 starter set, so I can do definitely a course like fire team now, maybe pair up with a bronze and have it just go Rochambeau some folks. And it brings its own little whatchamacallit as well, its own little firewall with a whatchamacallit tin bot to come with them. So a lot of the profiles of the tin bot, which makes him worth paying. And speaking of affordable, the Yao Fang Long Yas, these are the new remotes for the White Banner, and look at how cool they are. They're so different. Like I love them. These little chicken walkers with their guns, they're very not of the current remote style. And I'm really digging them. And that's what has, like, between these 2 boxes, this is what has me thinking about White Banner or doing the O12, because both of these are very cool new units and very different, like stylistically, to things that are currently available. I mean, the Bay Trooper is obviously inspired a bit by the Neil Blomkamp style cyborgs, but I love these. They're just weird and different, and like, again, like a cheap affordable profile, I can probably fit them into almost any list. And their loadouts are super cool. I think one of them has, yeah, it's a heavy shotgun or an SMG, and they have specialist profiles as well. So neat, inexpensive remotes that fight pretty good, remote presence, so they don't fail courage tests, and just have a bunch of like options such as support wear and stuff to make them even more deadly. And so there we go, another 10 models painted this week and tons of projects on the go. The second edition one's the big time sensitive one. I'll try and get my Malifaux stuff finished for the next game. Then the other stuff is just stuff that I want to work on, and I'll work on in between projects to recharge myself on painting. So like the War Dancer, the mechs for the game that I'm writing, and then of course my Infinity project are just kind of like, they're not long projects, so I can kind of do them to relax and slow down my painting a little bit in between doing these big, like, I need this for the next game I'm gonna play kind of projects. And I find that's very restful for me for getting my painting done. So anyway, we'll see what gets done next week. Till then, I'm Ash. Up Gaming. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My two kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continue to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.